Jai Hind. The topic which we are going to cover today is transaction concept in DBMS. It is covered under Unit 4 of the subject DBMS. So basically, first, what is transaction? So transaction is nothing. It is a unit of a program execution that assesses and possibly update various data items. That is, if you are reading some data and you are updating that data, then this is your transaction. So a transaction must see a consistent database. What it says, that is on the data items which it is operating, those data items should remain consistent. That is, once you make this change, it should be visible to all and it should be consistent throughout the database. During transaction execution, the database may be temporarily inconsistent. Why it is temporarily inconsistent? Because at that time you are updating this database, and if some other, so let's suppose this is my transaction T1 and another transaction T2 comes and it also wants to update or to read that particular data item, then that transaction, if we allow this transaction, then what will happen? It will see the inconsistent state of the data item Q. So during transaction, when we are executing a transaction, at that time the database is inconsistent, but once it has been successfully done, after that it becomes consistent. When the transaction completes successfully, when we are saying a successful completion, it is once you are running the commit command. The database must be consistent. After a transaction commit, the changes it has made to the database persist if there are system failures. That is, it becomes permanent. Once you had you committed something to the database, that change becomes permanent in the DBMS. Multiple transactions can execute in parallel. That is, if I am having transaction T1, T2, another T3, then this implies T1, T2 and T3, it may execute parallelly. That is, they are executing in hand together. So the two main issues to deal with, because all these are running concurrently. So once you are running something concurrently, then concurrency issues may arise. So what will happen? What the issues need to be addressed at that time? That is, failures of various kinds, such as hardware failure and system failure and system crashes. How to deal with such kind of failures? And the concurrent execution of multiple transactions. That is, for example, when T1 is updating the data item Q, at that time T2 should not be allowed to perform any kind of operation on the data item Q. When we talk about the transaction, then once you are executing a transaction, then the integrity of the data in the database must remain. You need to ensure the integrity of the data. And how to ensure the integrity of the data? That is, you need to follow these 4 rules. That is, all these 4 properties, they must be satisfied. And what is these properties? They are my ACID property. A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, and D stands for durability. So what is atomicity? Atomicity says either all operations of the transactions are properly reflected in the database or none are. That is, when we are writing something, then this is not a single, you could say, instruction. It is broken down in multiple parts when your operating system is executing this instruction. So how you will store? For example, I am having the register R1. At that time, the Q value is stored in register R1. Then you will make the updations. For instance, you are updating something, you are a value of the Q, you are incrementing the value of the Q by 2. Then what will happen? Then you will increment the register 1 value, and after that you will assign the register value back to the data item. So a single instruction is broken down into multiple instructions. So what will happen if a system crashes after this and some other and you allow another transaction to work on this data item queue? Then what will happen after this? After this, that that particular transaction is going to read the old value of the queue. And the context switching, you people are have learned the context switching in operating system. Then what will happen if the context switching may happen at any time? You people are aware. So it says, what the atomicity says, that either all the three operations, they will execute it successfully, or none of them. That is, if any mishappening happen in any part of the sub instruction, then you have to roll back. Consistency, it says execution of a transaction in isolation, that is with no other transaction executing concurrently. That is, when the T1 is executing it, then T2 should not be allowed to work on the data item T2. This is how you ensure the consistency. Isolation, all the multiple transactions may execute concurrently. Each transaction must be unaware of other concurrently executing transactions. That is, if you are running this transaction, then this transaction is not aware that T1 is being executed. So it's the DBMS role, that is how to ensure the isolation. That is, for every pair of transaction Ti and Tj, it appears to Ti that either Tj finished the execution before Ti started, or Tj started its execution once Ti finished its execution. And the last property, that is durability. What it says, after transaction completes successfully, all the updations which have been made in the database, it should be permanent, even the system crashes. What kind of operations are permissible when we are talking about the transaction? Only two kind of operations are permissible. One is read and another one is write. So what is reading? It is just transferring the data item X from the database to a local buffer belonging to the transaction that executed the read operation. Similarly, what is write operation? Which transfer the data item X from local buffer to the transaction that executed the write back to the database. That is, here we are having the system, that is your DBMS, and here we are having the local. So what this implies, once you are transferring the data item queue from system to local, we says we are working on this. But once you are making the updations, then we say that we are doing the write operation. That is, we are updating. And how the updations need to be done? No doubt the data should be in your local memory. Once the updation being done, it should be written back to the system, that is your DBMS. This is a simple example of fund transfer. So we are having a transaction to transfer $50 from account A to account B. So these are the set of instruction where we are deducting the amount from the user account A, and in this pair of statements we are adding the amount to the user account B. So how the asset property is being satisfied? If we are talking about the simple fund transfer, you could say these two transactions we are having, we could say this is my transaction T1 and this is my transaction T2. So what the atomicity says, if the transaction fails after step 3 and before step 6, the system should ensure that its updates are not reflected in the database, else an inconsistency will result. That is, you have successfully run this transaction, but once you are running this transaction, system crashes. Then what it says, you automatically T2 is going to be rolled back, but then T1 should also be rolled back. Consistency requirement, what it says, that the sum of A and B is unchanged by the execution of the transaction. That is what you are having initially. For example, if I am having A equals to 100 and B equals to 200 and I am deducting the amount 50. So before the transaction, what is total value of A plus B? It is 300. And after the transaction, that is after the fund transfer, what will happen? A, it become 50, and B, it becomes 250. What these 6 statements are saying. Accordingly, we have deducted the amount and added the amount wherever it is required. And here again, A plus B is equals to 300. So what the consistency says, that the sum of A and B is unchanged by the execution of the transaction. What's the isolation says? If between the steps 3 and 6, that 3 and 6, that is here. Another transaction is allowed to access the partially updated database. It will see an inconsistent database. The sum A plus B will be less than it should be, isn't it? You have updated this, but updations is being done, and if you allow some other transaction to read the value of B, then the state would be inconsistent. So what the isolation says? Isolation can be ensured trivially by running the transaction either in the serially order. However, the executing multiple transactions concurrently has significant benefit. That is, first we will run T1, your transaction T1, and then we will run transaction T2. Durability: once the user has been notified that the transaction has completed, that is a transfer of the $50 has taken place, the updates to the database by the transaction must persist despite the failures. Once we are talking about the transaction, then every transaction undergo various states, that is phases, once it is in its life cycle. The very first phase is execute active, then partially committed, failed, aborted, and committed. So if you look at the diagram, once you initiate a transaction, it is in active state, and if some mishappening happen, then it will move to the failed state. Once you are doing updations on the database, that is you haven't committed, but you are updating the data item, then it is partially committed. And once you run the commit command, then it is in the committed phase. Once the transaction has failed, then it need to be aborted. So this is the transaction state diagram for in DBMS. So what's the active state says? The initial state, the transaction stays in this state while it is executing. Partially committed after the final statement has been executed. Failed after the discovery that the normal execution can no longer proceed. And aborted after the transaction has been rolled back and database restored to its state prior to the start of the transaction. And the two options, once the transaction has been aborted, either restart the transaction or kill the transaction. Committed, that is after successful completion. Concurrent executions, what it implies? Multiple transactions are allowed to run concurrently in the system. And why we need this particular concept? To increase the processor and the disk utilization and to reduce the average response time. So when we are talking about the increasing processor and disk utilization, it leads to better transaction throughput. One transaction can be using the CPU while another is reading from or writing to the disk, and you may run them parallelly. It can reduce the average response time, that is short transaction need not wait to long ones for the long ones. So for the concurrent executions, we are having concurrency control schemes. So mechanisms to achieve isolation, that is to control the interaction among the concurrent transaction in order to prevent them for destroying the consistency of the database. So we need the concurrency control schemes. What is a schedule? Schedule is nothing when several transactions are executing concurrently, then the order in which they are executing that at that particular time instant, it is your schedule. So a schedule for a set of transaction must consist of all the instructions of those transactions, and it must preserve the order in which the transactions appear in each individual transaction. A transaction that successfully completes its execution will have a commit instruction as the last statement. A transaction that fails that is, it never moved to its successful completion, then it need to be abort. Our schedule is said to be serial if all the operations of the transaction are executed consecutively. Otherwise, it is said to be non-serial. That is, for instance, we are having T1 operation like this, read queue. Then we are I am having T2. I am having here again read queue. Then I am having WQ, and then I am having WQ. Now, what this is a non-serial, because you cannot make the schedule like this if it is executing in this way or something like this. If we are having this order, then we say the schedule is serial. So what is a schedule? It is a set of transactions. This is a simple schedule. Here the T1 transfer $50 from A to B, and T2 transfer 10% of the balance from A to B. So a serial schedule, when we are talking about the serial, then all the instructions corresponding to T1, it must appear here or must appear together. Similarly for the T2. Or another way is T1, T2. Here T2 is coming first and then T1 is coming. This is the same thing which I told you, that is where T2 is followed by T1. So it is a serial schedule. Let's suppose this is an example. Let T1 and T2 be the transaction, same transactions, but here it is in different manner. That is, here we are having this, this and this. So it is a non-serial schedule. And once we are talking about the non-serial schedule, we need to find the serial schedule. Once you encounter some non-serial schedule, then you try to find out an equivalent serial schedule to that particular schedule. So how we can find, if I swap the, because see what is the order here, first the updation is being done on A, then T2 is doing the updation on A completely. After this, T1 is doing some updation on data item B. All the complete set of instructions, that is updations, need to be done. And after that, we are updating B on by the transaction T2. So if I make all these sets here move and these sets to this particular time instant, that nothing, that your data will remain consistent. So we could say that schedule 3, it can be made equivalent to schedule 1 and schedule 2. Schedule 1 and schedule 2, they are serializable schedule, serial schedule. So this particular, although it is non-serial schedule, but it is equivalent to a serial schedule. Now see this example. Here we have just made the updations, but we haven't written a value back to the database. Clear? But here it is start reading the data value A. So what will happen when it will read the data value of A? It is reading the old value. Clear? And whereas T2 need to read the updated value, because T1 start its execution first. Similarly, in this case, it has done the updations here, but it has read the new old value, and again it is reading the old value of V, whereas it need to, what it should be? It should be reading the new updated value which has been updated by the transaction T2. So this non-serial schedule, it will never maintain the your consistency of the your DBMS. So this is an example of non-serial schedule, but it is not equivalent to a serial schedule. So what the serializability says, we need to make certain assumptions, that is, each transaction preserve the database consistency. The serial execution of a set of transactions preserve the database consistency. A possible concurrent schedule is serializable if it is equivalent to a serial schedule, and we are having different forms of schedule equivalence giving rise. One is conflict serializability and another one is your view serializability. We ignore the operations other than read and write instructions, and we assume, this is another assumption, that we are only considering read and write. Here in this, what is happening, we have considered this particular statement also, but once we are talking about the serializability, we don't need to include such kind of statements. We just need read read, read, write, 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 read. And we assume that the transactions may perform arbitrary computations on a data in local buffers. That is what it need to be, what kind of computation, we don't need to worry about it. Our simplified schedule consists of only read and write instructions. Now, what is a conflicting instruction? Suppose I am having two instructions, I and ij, and these two instructions, they are corresponding to different transactions, I corresponding to ti and ij corresponding to tj. So these are the possible combinations. Why? Because only two operations are allowed, read and write. So what will happen? Both are reading, or this is reading and this is writing. This is writing the data item q, this is reading, whereas write. So these are the four possible combinations. So what will happen? If we allow both these instructions to read the data item q simultaneously, then they will never conflict. Whereas in the case, if we are allowing this first and this later on, or write q first and read q later on, then what will happen? It will conflict. So always remember that if you are having multiple instructions and they all are reading instructions, then they never conflict. Whereas if either one of them is right or both of them are right, then they come under the category of conflicting instructions. So intuitively, a conflict between ii and ij forces a temporal order between them. If ii and ij are consecutive in a schedule and they do not conflict, their results should remain the same, even if they had been interchanged in the schedule. That is, if we are swapping the order of the instructions. So what is conflict serializability? If a schedule S can be transformed into another schedule S dash by a series of swapping of non-conflicting instructions, we say that S and S dash are conflict equivalent. They are equivalent, conflict equivalent. We say that a schedule S is conflict serializable if the resultant, that is S dash, it comes out to be a serial schedule. Now we identified three rules that show that if two operations in a schedule satisfy all these three conditions, then operations are said to be conflict. That is, they belong to different transactions, they access the same time, at least one of the operation is a write item. So if we talk about the schedule 3, then it can be transformed into schedule 6, a serial schedule where T2 is followed by T1. That is, this is the schedule we have seen. So what happen if we swap? That is, how can we swap? First do the swapping between these two. This is data item A, this is data item B. So both are non-conflicting. So we can swap. That is, we can write here write A and we can write here read B, isn't it? Similarly, once we are talking about the read B and read A, both are different item. Moreover, both are read operations. So again, a non-conflicting from both the aspects. So what will happen? We can swap these. So we can bring read B here and read A here. Similarly, we can swap B and A, these two instructions working, they are on the different data item. Again, once it comes here B and read A, because they are again your non-conflicting instructions. So here what will happen? We can get this schedule. So if you look at the figure, this is my serial schedule, isn't it? So this schedule 3 is conflict equivalent to, or you could say conflict serializable to schedule 6. And if you look at this, this is not a conflict serializable because you cannot swap these two instructions. You cannot make something like this, because it will become, if I make this order, if I successfully come to this particular conclusion, then I could say that this schedule is a serial schedule, but I failed to generate a serial schedule. Why? Because we cannot. And why? Because data item is same, isn't it? So it is a non-conflict serializable schedule. Another important concept is view serializability. What it says, let S and S dash be two schedules with same set of transactions, then S and S dash, they are view equivalent if they satisfy these three conditions. What are these three conditions? For each data item Q, if transaction Ti reads the initial value of Q in schedule S, then the same transaction Ti in schedule S dash also read the initial value of Q. That is, I am having two schedules, S and S dash. What's the first property says? Let's suppose I am having two transactions, T1 and T2. If I am saying I am reading the data item first initially in T1, then S dash also, T1 should be the first transaction to read the data value Q. Second property, for each data item Q, if transaction Ti executes read Q in schedule S and that value was produced by a write Q operation by transaction Tj, then read Q operation of transaction Ti must in schedule S dash also read the value of Q that was produced by transaction T2. What it says? It says the property 2, this is my property 1. Okay, so what's the property 2 says? That if I'm writing, T2 has written something and T1 is reading that particular data item, then that particular sequence should also remain in schedule S dash. What's the third statement property says? It says for each data item Q, the transaction, if any, that performs the final write Q in S must perform the final write Q operation in schedule S dash. What it says? Let's suppose T2 is the transaction which is finally updating on data item Q. Then in S dash also, T2 should be the last transaction to update the data item Q. So for example, schedule 1 is not view equivalent to schedule 2, but schedule 1 is view equivalent to schedule 3 because the value of account A and B read by the transaction 2 were produced by T1 in both the schedule. That is, we have seen the transactions, view equivalent to schedule 2. Let's move towards the schedule 2, 1 and 2. So this is my schedule 1 and 2. So if I say this is my schedule, this is read A and this is read A and T2. In this case, we are finding this is my S dash and this is my S. So then what will happen? This is reading the first read A, and here also in schedule 2 it is successfully being done. But here what is happening? B is initially read by the transaction T1, whereas in the case of schedule 2, read is first been executed, initially been the value of B initially been read by transaction 2. That is why schedule 1 and schedule 2, they are not view equivalent to each other, but schedule 1 and schedule 3, they are view equivalent. That is, T1, it is first reading the value of A, and it is also the first transaction to reading the value of B. Let's see what is happening here. Here also T1 is reading A value first, and then it is also it is the first transaction to read the value. That is, the first property is being satisfied. Now the what is the next property? That is, this transaction, it is finally if we reading what, which is being updation being done by this. And if I talk about the schedule 3, here also what is happening? It is reading that value that is being updated by T1, and same is the concept with your data item B. Now the third property, that is in schedule 1, what is happening? In both the cases, final updation is being done on both the data items by T2, and in schedule 3 again the final updation in both the data items is being done by T2 transaction only. So we could say schedule 1 and schedule 3, they are view serializable. This is what we have seen. This is an example where the schedule is schedule S is view serializable if it is view equivalent to a serial schedule. Every conflict serializable schedule is also a view serializable schedule. Below is a schedule which is view serializable but not the conflict serializable, since every pair of transactions conflict and thus no swapping of instructions is possible. So we could say every view serializable schedule that is not conflict serializable has blind writes. That is a judgment which you can carry on once you see a schedule. On the basis of this, you can decide whether the that view serializable schedule is a conflict serializable schedule or not. This is all for today. Rest part we will discuss in next lecture. Jai Hind. These are the reference material which I used while preparing the slides. Jai Hind.